Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today, I'm going to talk about something cool, Unity Terrain feature. This feature allows you to add landscape to your game, like this one. Do you want to create something like this? Let's start then. Unity Terrain is a feature in the Unity game engine that allows developers to create and customize 3D terrain for their games. Terrain is a 3D representation of natural landscapes such as mountains, hills, valleys, and rivers, and it can be used to create realistic game environments. One of the main reasons why developers use Unity Terrain in their game is to create more engaging and realistic environments. By using terrain, developers can create natural landscapes that are more visually appealing and add an extra layer of depth to their games. Terrain can also help to create a sense of scale and size, making game worlds feel larger and more expansive. Unity Terrain comes with a variety of tools and features that allow developers to customize their terrain in many ways. For example, developers can sculpt and paint terrain to create different elevations and textures, and they can also add trees, rocks, and other objects to make the terrain more dynamic and interactive. Additionally, Unity Terrain supports advanced features such as Dynamic Terrain LOD, level of detail, which can help to optimize performance and improve the overall quality of the game. Unity Terrain is a powerful tool that can help developers create more immersive and engaging game environments. Whether you're creating a first-person shooter, a racing game, or a simulation, Unity Terrain can be used to enhance the visual appeal and gameplay experience of your game. With that being said, let's start creating a terrain in Unity.
The first thing that you need to do is to open up your Unity Hub and then go to New Project. We need a 3D project. We cannot work on a 2D project. So simply click New Project.
Project.
From here, choose 3D. By the way, this is the editor version that I'm using for my Unity. 3D and then hit Create.
Project!
This is a scene view that we are working with, and then we have the game view, which we can check whenever we are creating something. We've got, as usual, the hierarchy, we have the inspector, project, and the console as well. In order to create our terrain, we can simply go to hierarchy, right click, 3D object, and then click on terrain. When you create a terrain, you automatically get some settings and tools and everything here. We are going to work with these. Reminder, you can go to Window, Package Manager, and then you can search for, and then here you have terrain tools.
Terrain Tools package adds additional terrain sculpting brushes and tools to Unity.
If you want to work with the terrains on a next level, an advanced level, you can also download and install this package. Otherwise, you can just work with the existing terrain features and the toolbox that you have here, and it's going to be just fine. Double click on our terrain so we find where in the scene view our terrain is.
It's here. You can work until you get the perfect angle to see your terrain.
If you go on the game view, currently this is the camera view, which we can change it from the main camera. You can play with the X position, Y position, and Z position in order to get the perfect angle for your camera view. If you go back to the scene view, you can see that the camera is already here. You can move it wherever you want. And then here you can check that main camera view. But usually for the games that we have terrain and the landscape, usually this camera should follow the player. Currently, we just want to create a terrain and that's all. The following camera and etc. could be another video. So we're not going to work with that. I'm just here to tell you that you can edit it and see your landscape, your map or whatever in the game view. Let's go back to the terrain. Here you can see that we have a toolbar here with 5 different options. I'm going to explain what each one is going to do. But if you want more and more, you can go to the Unity documents and then you can read completely about the feature. This is our terrain. Everything happens here. Sometimes based on your game, you want very wide land in order to create your jungle, your mountain, your river, or whatever. Your map, basically. I'm trying to say your map. The first option here, if you hover over it, is create neighbor terrains. Basically, this is going to help you create neighbor terrains here. Let me zoom out. If you click on this one, you see different squares here. If you click on each of these, Unity is going to automatically generate some neighbor terrains easily. You can click on different parts as I told you, and then create multiple neighbor terrains. I'm going to give you more information and details about the neighbor terrains feature, but for now, just keep that in mind that you can easily generate neighbor terrains, and that's it.
So I'm going to shift and delete all of this, and we're going to work
on our one and only terrain. Going to the next one here, in the toolbar we have the paint terrain. This is where all the fun starts. Here we have some options that we can choose from: set height, smooth height, stamp terrain, paint holes, raise or lower terrain, paint texture. And basically you can do pretty much everything using all these tools that you have here. The thing that I'm going to do with this terrain, imagine that this is a jungle with some mountains in the corner or something like that. For doing that, I'm going to raise or lower terrain, and I'm choosing a brush, and then simply I'm going to click and then maybe create a mountain here. You can change your brush, or you can add a brush if you like, but I'm going to use the Unity tools. Now, let's imagine this is our mountain here, and this is going to be the part with the jungle, trees and everything. You can work with the brush size and even the opacity here, and then the brushes you can choose from here. As you can see, just left click to raise, and then you can hold shift and left click to lower. Now the next one here, we have stamp train. What is stamp train? Sometimes you want to like stamp something here, or you already have a shape or a brush or something, and you want to stamp it here. Imagine this circle thing. I want to make it stamp high like this big or even bigger, and then you can use this one, blend between adding the heights and taking the maximum here, and then you have brush size, opacity. Simply you can stamp something here. Currently I do not need this, but just to let you guys know that you can already use something called stamp. Control Z. Next one is smooth height. I do not need right now to use much of a blur for this map, but just to show you guys how does it work, let's increase the opacity to the maximum, and then here is my brush, this one. You have the blur direction, blur only up 1, only down -1, or both 0, and then I can change the brush size. See the difference that it makes? See? Control Z. This is the previous one. This is the new one. If we want to add a neighbor train, here you can see that Unity mirrors each of the adjacent train tiles, as you can see here, and cross blends their height maps to produce the height map for the new tile. If there is no tile in any of the 4 adjacent spaces, the height for that specific tile location are taken as 0. As here you can see that the height is 0, so this one is going to be 0 as well, but here the Unity mirrors everything. So this is something to keep in mind while using the neighbor terrains. Back to our terrain. So after smooth height, we have a set height feature that you can set the height of the space that you have your world or your local. You can change the height to anything. You can flatten tile simply by clicking on this one, and you can work with it until you get what you want. The other thing is paint holes. You can left click to paint a hole here. As you can see in the game, here is a hole as well. You can work with it if you want to have holes in your map. You can simply use this one and create a hole, and then shift and left click to erase it. And then last but not least, the most important one, paint texture. Here you can have your grass, have your dirt, you can have sands or anything that you want based on your project. How we are going to do that? Here you can see edit terrain layers by add layer. Here I have already some layers, but if you do not have anything, let me tell you how I got this. Go to Window, Asset Store. Here's the Unity Asset Store, and you can search for everything that you want online from the website. Search online, and then we're going to search for the texture. Here you can work with the pricing. For this project, we're going to work with something free. I'm going to use this one, Terrain Texture Pack Free. Just open in Unity. Since I have this on my Unity, I have re-download button here, but if it is the first time for you, you guys see the download button. Just download it and then import it. Click on import and then import all. Perfect. Here we have it in the assets right now. Now let's go to scene. Let's go back to terrain, edit terrain layers, add layer. Now you can choose any of these and add it to your paint. This is the first one. Edit, add layer. Perfect. Now we have all of our textures, and then we have our brush size and opacity. Let's work with the map until we get what we want, and then we can go to the next step. As you can see, this is a huge terrain to work with. In the next step, I'm going to add more trees and you can understand how big this terrain is. But for now, here below the terrain layers, we have something called tiling settings. Every tile has the size of X4 and Y4. If I zoom in, you can see the texture of the grass perfectly. But if I zoom out, you see this, and it doesn't look like real grass. But if I zoom in, then you can see the grass again. That's just because of the scaling thing and nothing important, but you can change it from here based on your project and everything that you're doing. Select this one, the grass layer, and then you can see that how tiny the tiles are, but you can easily increase that. Let's increase that to 800 to 800, you see, and you can also change the offset. These are all optional based on your project and you can work with them as much as you want. But for now, let's go back to 10 and continue with the same tile size. This is supposed to be a path. Now let's go to the next one, which is paint trees. In order to paint trees, you have to add some trees. How to add tree? Go to Asset Store.
We're going to search for a tree. And then we change the pricing to 0. You can download whichever that you want. I'm going to download Realistic tree 9. Then open in Unity.
I have the re-download button, but you can download it and then you can import it. Perfect. Now let's go back to the scene. We are going to paint this green area with the trees, and this is basically the road that we have towards the mountain. And go back to terrains, then edit tree, add tree. How can I add tree? Simply here, double click, add. And then the last one. Here you can see that we have a bend factor. What is bend factor? You can read it more in details in the Unity documents, but bend factor works with the wind system. It makes trees to move in the wind, and if you have a wind zone in your game, the trees are going to work perfectly regarding the wind that is blowing in the area. So you can work with that if you have that feature in your game. Oh, sorry. Let's add the last one. No bend factor for now, but you can work with it if you want. So here are the trees that we have here. You have an option, mass place trees. Give the number of the trees, and then you can, voila, generate about 1,000 trees around your map. And as I told you before, the trees are really tiny. You have to zoom in, and when you zoom in, the tiles are in perfect size with your trees, or you can change the tile size right now if you're not satisfied with how they look with the in comparison with the size of the trees. But if I zoom out, I'm sure that this much trees too much for this map. So Control Z, and then you can work with this, change it to, I don't know, 100, and then place 100 trees. Choose your brush size. Currently it's 40, which is this big. You can change that to bigger than that. And then we have the tree density. You can work with the density. Tree height, random, yeah. Or also you can work with that yourself. Log width to height, yes, thank you. And then the extra color variation that you can work with. I'm going to start with this tree. Based on the tree density and my brush size, this is the trees that I get. Now I'm going to paint some trees. You can do the same thing, go and have some fun, and then we'll continue. Yeah, okay. So that's it for now for the trees. Let's go to next one. This is paint details. For this one, paint details, you can use this to paint flowers, grass, and other stuff, other details. You can add those to your map. For doing that, simply you need, again, the same as the trees and the textures and everything, you need some details. We can go back to the asset store and download some grass and flowers. Let's go to asset store, search online. We search for flowers, then again the pricing free, grass and flower pack, this one sounds good. Add to my asset, open in Unity, download, and then import. Let's go back to our scene. Imagine that we want to draw some flowers and bushes or anything right here next to this tree. To add these details, in order to work with them on our map, you simply just need edit details, add grass texture. You can simply choose it from here, or you can drag and drop it here. Here you have some settings, you can change that. You see healthy color, dry color, or other stuff that you can work with them as you want. I'm going to continue adding some more details and then we can paint them up. Okay, now I want to paint some around this tree. You should work with the brush size, opacity, and target strength in order to get what you want. I'm going to decrease the target strength, the opacity, and that's the perfect brush size. You see? We can start to draw. This is a delicate work. You have to pay close attention and spend time on it. I'm just doing this to show you guys how easy it is. And then you can go on and work with it as much as you want. I can make the brush bigger, smaller, see if the opacity increases. You see, this happens. Or the target strength, this happens. This does not look natural, so you have to pay close attention when you're doing this. And this is the look that you get when you work with the details. It's more like nature. It gives the player a good feeling. And then, yeah, as I told you before, you can do whatever you want when you have these details. And then the last but not the least is the terrain settings. Here you have more settings that you can work with in order to get the final result that you want. As usual, we have the Unity reference here for more information if you need that. But basically, here you have some other important settings that you can work with them, like wind settings, mesh resolution, and extra stuff. Please go through them, work with them. Do not be afraid to change anything. And if you have more questions or anything in your mind, please feel free to ask in the comments. Do not forget to subscribe for more and give this video a thumbs up. See you in the next video. Bye. No.